Let's look at linear inequalities. These are very similar to equations, except instead of an equal sign, we have a less than, a greater than, a less than or equal to, or a greater than or equal to. However, they are solved almost identically to equations. There's just one thing that's different. If you multiply or divide both sides of your inequality by a negative number, you must flip the inequality sign. So if it was a less than, you need to switch it to a greater than, and vice versa. Let's start with the equation 2x plus 7 is greater than or equal to 4. When solving an equation, the first step would be to subtract 7 from both sides. That gets me that 2x is greater than or equal to negative 3. We can then divide both sides by 2, and since that's positive, we end up with x is greater than or equal to negative 3 over 2. We can also write this in interval notation. Negative 3 over 2 is the smallest it can be, and infinity is the biggest. It keeps going. We use a square bracket on negative 3 over 2 to indicate that we are actually including that point. Next, let's look at negative 3x plus 12 is less than 5. My first step should be to subtract 12 from both sides. That gets me negative 3x on the left and negative 7 on the right. When we divide both sides by negative 3, we have to flip the inequality since it's negative. And the double negative on the right-hand side cancels out, and we have that x is greater than 7 over 3. This means x has to be bigger than 7 over 3, so it goes from 7 over 3 to infinity. And this time we use parentheses since we do not include the point 7 over 3. Next, let's look at 2x plus 1 is greater than 4x minus 6. I want to start by getting my variables together, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. That leaves me that 1 is greater than 2x minus 6. We can add 6 to both sides to get 7 is greater than 2x. And divide both sides by 2 to get that 7 over 2 is greater than x. So x is smaller than 7 over 2. It's the smaller one. So it can be anywhere between negative infinity and 7 over 2. And once again, we use parentheses since we do not include the point 7 over 2. We can also have what's known as a compound inequality. The middle piece is both bigger than one number and smaller than the next. The only difference between this and a normal inequality is that instead of doing something to both sides of the inequality, we now need to do it to all three sides. So we start by subtracting 5 from all three sides of this inequality. Negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8, and 9 minus 5 is 4. I can then divide all three sides by 2 to get negative 4 is less than x is less than or equal to 2. When I write this in interval notation, we use a square bracket on 2 since we include the point 2, and a parenthesis on negative 4 since we do not include negative 4.